Now y'all know Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett never holds back, and she lit into Donald Trump over the immigration raids. She called exactly what it is. Roll it.
Representative Jasmine Crockett from Texas.
Thank you so much, Madam Ranker, and thank you so much to our witnesses for being here today. You know, I've sat and I've listened, and what my colleague, Mr. Krishnamurthy, just talked about was just blatant racism. Like, I'm gonna just call a thing a thing. Like, this administration is racist. That he has always been a racist, and that is what we are enduring in this country. Let me give you some facts behind this racism, and they get mad when I say the things that I say, but I will not stop speaking the truth. Number one, I said that what we were experiencing in this country felt like what I would imagine slave patrols to look like. And frankly, anybody that knows anything about slave patrols, this is exactly what it was like. We're talking about lawless people that are going around with no warrants or anything, and it's all about rounding people up and disappearing them. That is what's currently taking place. And interestingly enough, even though modern day policing was born out of slave patrols, when I was speaking with one of my friends who is a federal law enforcement officer, he told me that one of the things that he has observed is that the culture is created at the top. And when I think about it, it absolutely makes sense. If you have somebody at the top that will not tolerate the types of things that we're seeing, then maybe those under you won't do it. But we know that we have a racist at the top. He has called himself the head law enforcement agent in this country, and therefore everybody has decided that it is okay to take off their hoods and mask up as ICE agents. Now, we've talked about how they have hidden themselves, but again, it reminds me of the Klan. That is why I proposed the Clear ID Act, to make them identify themselves, because it is dangerous for law enforcement as well as individuals, because you don't know, especially with ICE going around and doing the things that thugs do. They're busting out windows, they're breaking into homes, they're breaking people's arms. This doesn't sound like law enforcement. It sounds like thuggery to me. But just like you can have somebody at the top that sets the tone for ugliness going down, you guys are blessed, because in the city of Chicago, you have a mayor. You have a mayor that has decided that he will not back down. He will not bend to this administration, and instead he will stand up for the people. You have a man of valor that is going up against a villain, and I think that we have to make sure, especially while we're in his city, that we recognize his leadership, because it is invaluable. Now, some people think that this is all about Chicago, but I want people to understand that this cancer is infecting us everywhere, and if you don't think that it can come to your city, well, I've got news for you. You see, we've been talking about the cruel and unusual punishment that is in violation of the 8th Amendment that is being handed out. And honestly, it's a spit in the face of every American that we have an actual convicted felon that feels aggrieved to the extent that he feels like he's owed hundreds of millions of dollars when people are literally dying under our watch. Recently, I just sent a letter, it looks like on October 22nd, to Kristi Noem. And one of the things that I laid out is that we have seen the most detainee deaths in ICE custody in a single year in decades, with 20 deaths in the last 9 months compared to 24 deaths in the past prior 4 years. Now, this week, we learned that an individual who went to the Dallas ICE field office for a routine visit, meaning that they were doing things the quote unquote right way, they were detained. They knew that this individual had diabetes and required insulin every 2 hours. Despite ICE having been told this, the individual was denied access to their medication for 8 days, resulting in hospitalization. There are some that say that we are making America great. But to me, it doesn't feel like greatness. It feels like grossness. That's right. And in fact, I want to ask a few questions, and it doesn't matter who answers them. Is it great or gross to go into people's houses and drag them out in the middle of the night?
Gross. Gross.
Is it great or gross to make people afraid to do something as simple as go to school?
Gross.
Is it great or gross to make hard-working people say, I am too scared to show up to my job?
Gross. Extremely gross.
Thank you so much to each and every one of you for your courage. Thank you so much for showing up. And Ms. O, I want to tell you that I understand that your mother is being detained in El Paso. I did go and visit that facility. I want you to know that I am always on my job.
All right, then. Speaking truth wherever she can.
Nicole Cole knows the cornerstone of a successful life starts here. Virginia Public Schools gave Nicole an excellent education. They helped her become a small business owner, family financial planner, mother, and community leader. Now, after 4 years on the Spotsylvania School Board, Nicole is running for delegate to meet the needs of all students. As our delegate, Nicole will fully fund our schools, raise teacher salaries, and help graduating students stay in our communities. Nicole Cole for delegate. For us, for our future.
Josh Cole became a pastor and delegate to serve his community. That's why Josh is fighting to lower costs for families hurting from inflation and make sure we can all afford quality health care. But Sean Steinway has embraced his MAGA backers who support Trump's mass firing of federal workers and the MAGA plan to ban abortion with no exceptions. We deserve better than Sean Steinway.
I'm Josh Cole, candidate for delegate, and I sponsored this ad.
In the military, I gave orders, and they went a lot further than they do around here. If there's one thing I've learned as a mom and foster parent of more kids than I can count, investing in their future isn't a choice. In Richmond, I'll fight for Stafford's fair share for our schools. Smaller class sizes, better teacher pay, and more vocational training. I'm Stacey Carroll, and I'll fight to get our kids' future in order.
As a pastor, I hear a lot about trips to the doctor, bills piling up, jobs being lost. So as your delegate, I went to work writing laws that protect families, helping parents care for their disabled children, capping insulin costs, lowering prescription prices, and investing in our police and schools. I'm Josh Cole, and as your delegate, I'm working to keep us strong and safe.
Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, she joins us right now. Congresswoman Crockett, you heard the conversation we were just having, and this is just a moment we're in where, look, folk can't be sitting on the sidelines going, well, so-and-so's not too bad, whatever. We see the attacks on women, black women, people of color, all sorts of people. The right wing is losing their mind because of what happened on Tuesday. I mean, they just going crazy. They've been calling you ghetto, every name, everything, how you talking, everything. They don't care. The reality is the norms of politics that were there for so long are gone. Donald Trump has said, y'all don't worry about any of that. Say and do whatever you want because I got you.
Yeah, you're so right. It's interesting. When we did our field hearing in Chicago as it relates to ICE and what's going on there, under amazing leadership, might I add, we know that the mayor of Chicago, Brandon, has been doing an amazing job in defense of his people. But I made sure to point out that a friend of mine who is currently federal law enforcement said to me that he always sees a shift in what takes place based upon the tone that is set at the top. So yes, we have a thug and a criminal who is a criminal more so because of his mindset. He obviously has convictions to go along with that. but it's more so his mind, right? There are people plenty of times that have gotten into trouble, but it was out of necessity, which we are going to see a spike in crime as this administration is saying, do not feed people. When it comes to survival, people will survive, right? And so we are going to see these things, even though he claims to be about that life. But nevertheless, he has set a tone. He has set a tone that is just respectful. He has set a tone that is completely ignoring the people that put him into office. And there is no coof about him, so to speak, right? And so you can sit there as prim and proper as you want to be and get steamrolled, or you can meet his energy and recognize that, like, you're not going to be the one to be played with, right? And you can fight back. And I think one of the reasons that he usually can't keep my name out of his mouth is because he is threatened with my ability to communicate. He understands that when I speak, I just speak very plainly, which allows me to communicate to the masses, which a lot of my colleagues don't necessarily.
Let me be real clear, Congresswoman. I had a very well-known Republican tell me the reason our side hates Jasmine Crockett is because she's good. He was like, he said it. He was like, she drives us up the wall because she's good. Those were his exact words.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. I mean, I've literally, as you know, I'm constantly traveling the country. And, I've had Republicans walk up to me and tell me, they, first of all, make it clear that they love me, and then they make it clear that they are Republicans. And they tell me that they don't necessarily agree with everything that I say or my stances, but they, number one, love the fact that I am always standing on my own 2 feet, and I am fighting for what I believe in. Like, they genuinely believe what it is that I'm fighting for when I'm fighting. Even if they disagree with the fight, they know that no one is controlling me. And number two, people know that I have my education. So I don't feel like I necessarily need to sit down and have an SAT conversation with everybody, because I don't really know that that's like most effective.
Well, then again, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, you got that guy from Louisiana, John Kennedy, with that fake-ass accent. I mean, there's actual video of him talking, and there is no country twang whatsoever. And he's over there and he is just talking like he's just homespun stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I mean, what the Republicans have been effective at doing is they love to throw a bomb, right? And usually the Democrats will scurry and go ahead and spread the news about the bomb, right? I am so appreciative of our party because they are kind of like, you know what, we're not falling for that anymore. And hopefully we can keep up this energy. If you remember, there were a lot of people saying that Jay Jones was not going to pull off the attorney general position in Virginia. And there were Democrats saying, oh my God, he sent this terrible text message. He needs to resign and not run. And we not have anybody.
Oh, 10 years ago, he would have been forced to resign. He would have been forced to drop out of the campaign.
Listen, there were still Democrats that were talking about it. And my deal was, say what you got to say, denounce what he did. But in this moment, do you trust this Republican attorney general to stand up when it is the state legislature that decides that they need to fight fire with fire and give us more seats out of Virginia to go to the U.S. House because they're trying to balance out this power struggle that Trump is on? Or when it comes down to Trump deciding that he's not going to send appropriated dollars to the state of Virginia, do you think that the Republican AG is going to be the one to sign up to go and get those dollars? No. So at the end of the day, you got to put your mask on first. And so you can say he is not my favorite person. And I just appreciated that the Democrats got rid of kind of the purity test. You can have whatever issues you have with him. But at the end of the day, you got to make sure you're looking out for you. And I was very excited to see that he was able to pull off the win. Not that I know him. I've never met him. I've never talked to him. But because it seems like people did not get caught up in the distractions. And that is what the Republicans are very good at. There is no way that the Republicans get to point fingers while we have the most corrupt president ever in the history of this country sitting on his wannabe throne. Absolutely not. We got to do what we got to do. And we may not necessarily have perfect soldiers in this fight, but we need fighters. And we can't afford to cede any territory. And so I was very excited for what happened on November 4th. And Trump is the one that basically does not have a poker face. It was clear that he was very upset about what happened. And Mike Johnson just stood up and lied and said, oh, no. It was just in all the blue places. That's all it was. It's what we expected. And it's like, bro, there's a Republican governor that just got, I mean, obviously they only run for one term in Virginia, but like, the numbers were crazy. Spamberger was up by 14 points or something. And we know that the last time they went for Youngkin. So, I mean, this wasn't just, and obviously no conversation about Mississippi, no conversation about what Georgia did, right? They all should be nervous and they all should be kind of looking at Trump and saying, bro, it's time for us to get back to work. So come to the table. You're going to have to negotiate some of this. Otherwise, I am telling you right now, that blue wave that we saw is going to be a tsunami come the midterms.
Speaking of that, obviously we have the racist gerrymander in Texas wiping out your seat, that of also one of the seats in Houston, a total of 5. You have to make a decision. Your name has been thrown out left and right by the United States Senate. Your name is popping up in polls and stories and whatever. How much time you got to make a decision whether you run for Congress or try for that U.S. Senate?
Yeah, so I am running out of time, to be clear. Texas has one of the earliest primaries. And so our filing actually will begin in just a few days, and the filing period is going to close on December 8th. I fully anticipate that I won't announce what I'm doing until December 8th, to be perfectly honest. You're right. There's been so many independent polls that have been done. We just saw one that came out this week where the case was made that there needs to be a multicultural coalition that is built in order to win. And so when you look at what it took for Spamberger to win, what it took for Mikey Sherrill to win, it all was kind of these multicultural coalitions. And based upon my performance, specifically with people of color, not necessarily saying that I'm performing bad with, Anglos, but specifically with how well I perform with people of color, the argument was made that I'm best situated, as well as the fact that I've been kind of making this argument that name ID wise, my name ID is significantly higher than any candidate that we've ever put up to run statewide. We always put up someone who has a great resume, but I think that our party has been very afraid of giving the Republicans too much time to beat up on somebody. And I got news for them. They've been beating up on me for a very long time. So I don't even know. I mean, they didn't came up with some other BS drama. I'm just like, this is just a normal day for me, right? Like, I don't get distracted. And I think because they have consistently tried to beat up on me, running crazy stories on Newsmax, running crazy stories on Fox, that kind of stuff, I think that it makes it to where it's more background noise at this point, right? Instead of something that anybody would pay attention to, because it's the same old, same old. And so I think that we have invested a lot in kind of a blank slate, somebody that hopefully they can't tear down. And I also think the Democrats have really taken a lot of time to say we want to go after the crossover instead of going after our base. And so it's a matter of difference in style. I believe that I have a lot of base to get to that we could bring out so that we could expand the electorate in Texas. So often people say, well, it doesn't matter anyway. I'm not going to go vote because it's just going to be a Republican. But I remember a time in which a lot of people in this country never thought we would see a Black president. And I remember that people were hopeful. They weren't necessarily believing, but they were hopeful, right? And it is my hope that I can instill that we deserve better in the state of Texas and that we deserve a U.S. senator that is Texas tough, but always is going to put all of Texas first. And so we'll see. I don't plan to go out here on a dummy mission for sure. So all I can say is that independent polls make it clear that there's a path for me. The candidate that the Republicans want to run away from is only 1 point ahead of me in a head-to-head, which is well within the margin of error of any poll. And that's been in multiple polls where Ken Paxton is only outpacing me by a point without me ever spending one statewide dollar. But if I can't get people excited or motivated in ways that we've never seen in Texas, then I will absolutely be running for a House seat. I don't know which House seat. We're still waiting on the court. We are anticipating getting a court order within the next day or so, because we are about to enter filing and people have to know what the district looks like. So if our numbers don't come back, which they are working through that right now, to be something that I feel like we can jump off on, then I won't. I will stay in the House. Otherwise, it's go big or go home.
So if you run, which one of those comfortable shoes are you going to wear behind you? Because you're going to have to be hitting a lot of pavement with 254 counties in Texas.
My J's aren't behind me, but it'll be some J's, that's for sure.
So you're going to have some comfortable shoes. Because it's a whole lot of ground to cover in Texas if you run statewide.
Yeah, it is. People underestimate really how big Texas is. It is in the literal land mass. We are huge, but also, we're a state of over 30 million people. So it's a lot, and we have some of the most expensive media markets in this country. But one of the things that I did that people didn't really realize, and it's just because I believe in good people getting into office, is when I was in the state house, I was helping out people that were running for office all over the place. And by the time I decided I was going to run for the U.S. House, there were so many elected officials that were willing to support me and come out really quickly and early, because they were like, you had our back. And as it turns out, I had expanded my territory. Well, I've done that a little bit more quietly, for sure, consistently. And then there's some races that I'm big and loud about, such as Christian Menifee down in the special election in Houston for the old Sylvester Turner, the old Sheila Jackson Lee, the old Barbara Jordan seat, old Mickey Leland seat, Craig Washington seat. So historic seat. So I've been out front with him, but there are other people that I have helped out, whether it was mayoral races or state house races and things like that. And people just don't forget. And that's been all over the state. So I think that will serve me well if we decide to run statewide, because we have people that already have their own machines kind of together that allow them to be elected. And I would imagine that they would be helpful in making sure that I could tap into their machines as well.
Well, if Colin Allred could raise $90 million last year against Senator Ted Cruz, of course, he's in this race as well. I think if you decide to run, $100 million ain't going to be a problem.
I don't know if I would say ain't going to be a problem.
I don't think, hey.
We will hustle. We will fight.
I'm saying it right now. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, if you run for United States Senate, you're going to raise more than $100 million. I'm putting that marker on the table right now.
Okay, I'll take it.
All right. Congresswoman Crockett, I appreciate it. Glad to have on the show. And of course, as also my Congresswoman, I'm a constituent, which I made perfectly clear to Stephen A. Smith. You want to talk to a constituent to know what she's doing, come talk to me, because I actually vote in the 30th Congressional District.
Along with your parents, who I love.
Yeah, all y'all, listen, they work the polls, they do all this sort of stuff. What the hell are y'all doing in the control room putting this behind me? What's going on? Lord have mercy. Congresswoman, we got to go. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase, and I'm here with a very important message. We are at a turning point in the Black community where we must have equity in the apps we use that scale to billions of dollars. But this time, we own the infrastructure, we own the culture, and we shape the future. And Fanbase is the future. Fanbase combines the free functionality of Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube into an all-in-one platform built for the evolution of social media and monetization.
With over 1.4 million users, that's real proof that we are shifting the conversation of tech ownership and equity for creators. So right now, I want you to go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. The minimum to invest is $399. That gets you 60 shares of stock in Fanbase at $665 a share. This marks a turning point in Black ownership of social media. If we don't take this opportunity to own social media right now, we will always be customers to our own creations. And that can't go on. So once again, go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. We must own the platforms where our voices live, our stories matter, and where our culture drives the world. Thank you.
Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett during the House Judiciary Committee went off on the twice impeached, criminally convicted felon-in-chief, Donald Trump. Watch.
Since January, Donald Trump has used the full power of the federal government to attack Americans in cities across the country. In Donald Trump's America, you are at increased risk of experiencing militaristic operations in your home, increased risk of being subject to detainment by mass thugs and wannabe vigilantes, increased risk of suffering injuries due to reckless and illegal acts by rogue federal agents, increased risk of being deported to foreign nations even if you are an American citizen, and you're at an increased risk of being targeted by federal government for criticizing the president and his friends. Congressional Republicans have completely abandoned their Article I powers and have exchanged their responsibility to their constituents with fealty to the president. They have allowed the president to morph federal agencies into instruments of autocracy. And as a result, the president has been able to ignore federal law, disregard court orders, and implement the largest pay-for-play scheme in American history. The White House, well, what's left of it anyway, is literally up for sale. The federal courts have characterized this presidency as, quote, lawless. In fact, when ruling against illegal acts committed by the administration, a Republican-appointed federal judge stated, quote, the court cannot imagine how the public interest might be served by permitting federal officials to flaunt the very laws they have sworn to enforce. In a separate case where the administration was sued for unlawful acts, the judge, also a Republican appointee, stated, quote, allowing constitutional rights to be dependent upon the grace of the executive branch would be a dereliction of duty by this third and independent branch of government and would be against the public interest. But in another case, the court summed it up perfectly by declaring, quote, as is becoming far too common, we are confronted again with the efforts of the executive branch to set aside the rule of law in pursuit of its own goals. Judiciary Committee Republicans have been completely complicit in this corruption. But since they're so interested in restoring law and order, I have a couple of suggestions on where they can start. Number one, this is the President of the United States standing beside his best friend, Jeffrey Epstein. As we all know, Mr. Epstein is one of the most notorious sexual predators in American history. For 8 weeks, the Republicans on this committee have chosen to protect these two men instead of providing justice to Mr. Epstein's victims. Now the administration is panicking. First, they campaigned on releasing the Epstein files. Then AG Bondi and Associates did a photo op with the files. And she said, and I quote, the Epstein list is on my desk. Then somehow the Epstein list didn't exist. Then the Epstein files became a Democratic hoax. Now the president is supposedly supportive of releasing the files, even though he's currently ignoring a congressional subpoena to do so. Now the president is simply crashing out. And it's because he can't seem to explain his special decades-long relationship with one of the most prominent sexual predators in American history. It's already public that he's in the Epstein files, but his administration is hiding the context of his involvement, if any, with Mr. Epstein's horrific crimes. Now, this is Miss Ghislaine Maxwell. Miss Maxwell, who obviously helped Jeffrey Epstein traffic more than 1,000 women and girls, Well, Donald Trump is now giving her special treatment while she's serving out her prison sentence. He won't even rule out giving her a pardon or commuting her sentence. I don't need to explain why pardoning sex traffickers wouldn't be restoring law and order. Now, this is Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem. Not only has Secretary Noem been busy filming propaganda ads, she's also been busy cashing in on millions of taxpayer dollars. In fact, Secretary Noem has funneled millions of dollars to a company called the Strategy Group. The Strategy Group helped Secretary Noem win her campaign to become the governor of South Dakota. Corey Lewandowski, her top policy advisor, has worked with the firm. And the company's CEO is married to Secretary Noem's chief spokesperson, Mrs. Tricia McLaughlin. This is what corruption looks like. They're stealing money from the American people's pockets and depositing it into their bank accounts. Now we move on to yet somebody else. This is the so-called border czar, Tom Homan. Mr. Homan is on tape accepting $50,000 in cash bribes stuffed in a brown paper bag from an undercover FBI agent. Apparently, Mr. Homan accepted these bribes in exchange for awarding federal contracts to his friends. Trump's Department of Justice killed the investigation into Mr. Homan's crimes, and congressional Republicans didn't say a mumbling word. Lastly, this is insurrectionist and Nazi sympathizer Ed Martin. It appears that Mr. Martin is functioning as the Associate Deputy Attorney General, Pardon Attorney, Director of the Fake Weaponization Working Group, and Special Attorney for Mortgage Fraud. All that means is that Mr. Martin is Trump's lapdog, whom the president sends to initiate lawsuits against the president's perceived political opponents. This is what we call organized crime. They're breaking the law, often by stealing taxpayer dollars, covering up their crimes by ending and obstructing investigations, then prosecuting people who call out their unlawful behavior. And while the Republicans are encouraging this corruption, they're abandoning actual victims of violent crime and ignoring the Republican-led state's 21st century murder crisis. In September's appropriation markup, congressional Republicans proposed reducing the FBI staff by thousands of positions and underfunding the agency by more than $1 billion. They've proposed slashing resources from the ATF. They've proposed cutting grants for juvenile justice programs and hate crimes and eliminating the community violence intervention and prevention grants. They're literally defunding the police. So no matter what they say at today's hearing, congressional Republicans have proven that they are not investing in keeping American communities safe from violent crime. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
You know, it's hilarious sitting there listening to Congresswoman Crockett talk about corruption, Reese. And Dan Bongino, you know, the one who got a pass when it came to being vetted, he actually put this tweet out today. Public corruption will not be tolerated. Come on, go to the tweet. Come on. Public corruption will not be tolerated. Reese, I'm laughing because Donald Trump has pardoned a number of people who were convicted of public corruption. So I'm like, it ain't no shock they let Tom Homan off the hook for taking that 50 grand.
Donald Trump is a convicted felon. Let's also remind people that. So he is the epitome of corruption. He's been civilly also convicted in order to pay tens of millions of dollars for fraudulent business activities. So he is the epitome of corrupt. And as Congresswoman Crockett pointed out, I mean, it's like a mob boss. This is a shakedown half the time. So I think Dan Bongino, I think he maybe is trying to distract from the fact that he was one of the people calling for the Epstein files before he became, undeservedly so, the deputy FBI director. But nobody believes anything you got to say, Dan. Okay, so bye-bye.
I just sit here, Joy, and I mean, first of all, let's just be real clear. Yeah. Donald Trump is completely, undoubtedly, absolutely, undeniably corrupt. Mm-hmm. He is. I mean, so they are pimping the White House. This is like telling, hey, Bonnie and Clyde, we're going to hire y'all to be a bank manager. I mean, that's
easy for 'em.
like, that's literally, I mean, what these fools are doing, the selling of access, the pimping, the deals being cut. You can buy this dude off. There is no announcement. There is no announcement made out of his mouth where I don't instantly think he got a check. Somebody paid him. He is selling pardons. I don't give a damn what.
Yeah.
He's selling pardons.
He's absolutely selling pardons. And then when he can't sell it, he just doesn't prosecute at all. He undoes things that were already in progress for his friends. And then when they point it out, they say, you know what, this person invested in your company, or this person has a personal relationship with someone who has a financial interest in your company. He says, oh, well, a lot of people like them, as if that's a legal standard. This man is corrupt. Birds of a feather flock together. And, you know, I was listening like, why is he just being so open about it? I personally think he's being open about it because it serves two purposes. One, it lines his pockets. But the other thing is it distracts us all, right? So now we have to talk about it, and we should, right? But it hides whatever else corrupt he's doing down the line. Moreover, I think just things aren't working together on policy. The economy, as we began the show, the economy is doing poorly. His tariff policies aren't going the way he wants them to go unless he tries to buy people, right? Where they give him, like the Swiss did, give him a watch or give him a gold bar or give him something, right? And also like his immigration policies are hated. All around, he's seeing failure after failure. Governing is harder than it's ever been. And his foreign policies are not the success that he purports them to be. And so he's going back to what he knows.
Well,
what he knows is the grift.
Look, he wants to be a dictator. He desperately wants to be a dictator. Now federal judges ruled that, yes, his order to have National Guard in D.C. was unlawful. More federal judges are ruling against him. And so this is somebody who is absolutely, beyond a doubt, idiotic. And we're seeing what happens when you put someone who has no morals, no values, no principles, no ethics in a position of authority. Greg Carr joins us right now. And Greg, what Congresswoman Crockett laid out, like, yeah, we're dealing with a dictator. We're dealing with somebody who loves dictators, and we're dealing with a thug. He is the thug in chief. He is a corrupt thug. That's who Donald Trump is. And MAGA, for every day they suck up to him, all they're simply doing is just lining his pockets, and he don't give a damn about none of they broke asses.
None.
He does not, brother. He does not. And forgive me for being late and for the lighting. I'm here in Philadelphia, the Black Male Educator convening. A room, 1,000 educators from all over the country, mostly black men. And if I got stopped one time, I got stopped 300 times today to tell you that the Black Star Network must succeed, and all these people watching. So someone went back to the hotel rooms and watched that. I had to give you that message first of all.
I appreciate it.
Anyway, but yes, Congresswoman Crockett is really showing the way. Keep your foot on his neck. As you've been laying out now for months, and certainly we're seeing it now. I think he may have peaked. As you say, the judges are pushing back now, whether it be Utah, whether it be district and state judges, whether it be his person in Virginia and in New York who are in trouble now as these federal judges say, you weren't even appointed. And wait a minute, wait, you're filing claims to the grand jury and you didn't even give them the true bill. So he may have peaked. This stunt he pulled with Mohammed bin Salman this week in the White House, when approached about the journalist Jamal Khashoggi to say, hey, a lot of people didn't like him and things happened. Donald Trump, we know, is mentally ill. We know he's not well. But what Congresswoman Crockett is doing now is pressing the advantage. If we had some more people to follow her lead and join her, I think you would see a very big sea change. We certainly saw it with Thomas Massey and Ro Khanna and the four who would not be shaken, who decided to go ahead on the Republican side and move toward getting the Epstein files released. I don't expect they're going to be released. But you saw not only was only the one congressperson, that crazy Clay Higgins that you've been roasting, vote not to release them, but the following day they then voted unanimously, Senate and House Representatives, to say, oh, and that money you trying to steal, $500,000 floor, you gonna stop doing that. Everybody had to vote against that. What Jasmine Crockett is doing, what Representative Crockett is doing, is basically delivering a playbook from the House of Representatives on how to speak truth to power and to be fearless. Between what she's doing and what, a person like Gavin Newsom is doing in California, I think this is what turns the tide as this thing has. I really do believe it's beginning to peak.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase, and I'm here with a very important message. We are at a turning point in the Black community where we must have equity in the apps we use that scale to billions of dollars. But this time, we own the infrastructure, we own the culture, and we shape the future. And Fanbase is the future. Fanbase combines the free functionality of Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube into an all-in-one platform built for the evolution of social media and monetization. With over 1.4 million users, that's real proof that we are shifting the conversation of tech ownership and equity for creators. So right now, I want you to go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. The minimum to invest is $399. That gets you 60 shares of stock in Fanbase at $665 a share. This marks a turning point in Black ownership of social media. If we don't take this opportunity to own social media right now, we will always be customers to our own creations. And that can't go on. So once again, go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. We must own the platforms where our voices live, our stories matter, and where our culture drives the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much to the ranking member and again to the mayor for calling this. But let me be clear. Donald Trump is running the most openly racist immigration regime in modern American history. I've said it once and I'll say it again. Donald Trump's mass deportation system makes me think of what a modern day slave patrol would look like. Slave patrols were armed groups empowered by the government to control, intimidate, and terrorize people solely based on color. That's what's happening now. Donald Trump is sending mass agents without warrants into communities of color to terrorize the people who live there. And the reason that I want to make sure that I draw out this link, because we heard Maxine say that Black and brown is coming together. I want to be clear about this. This should not just be the immigrant community. This should be all of us united, because we know united we stand, divided we fall. And unfortunately, this last election, we allowed ourselves to be divided. Now, Ms. Velez, it's my understanding that you were detained by federal agents while you were on your way to work. Is that correct? Did any of these agents present you with a warrant?
No.
An explanation?
No.
Did they do anything other than illegally detain and arrest you?
Yeah.
Did they even identify themselves?
No, they did not.
Okay. Donald Trump has created an environment where these agents believe they are above the law. And one of the things that the ranking member just said was that there's a level of dehumanization. It is in that dehumanization, whether we are talking about the language they use to describe human beings, or whether we talk about the fact that they don't feel as if certain people are entitled to their constitutional rights. That is why Ms. Velez, unfortunately, was denied her constitutional rights, which we know she was supposed to enjoy in, just like those in our immigrant community. But this isn't just that this is the most openly racist immigration regime in modern day history. It is also the most violent and deadly immigration regime in decades. More people have died this year in ISIS custody than in any year since the early 2000s, and the year is not over. Ms. Kozlowski, talk to me about the disturbing reports of unsanitary and inhumane conditions, which are partly responsible for the increase in deaths at the federal detention facilities.
The conditions that we see in the federal detention centers, from holding facilities to facilities across the country, are absolutely deplorable. They are deadly, as you have pointed out. But we see conditions where people are denied medical care, where people are harmed while in custody, where people are held incommunicado from their families. What we are seeing right now are the most horrific conditions, and they are simply designed to get people to give up on their cases. They're intentionally cruel, being kept away from their families In some cases, we've seen people in the midst of chemotherapy treatments, people on dialysis who are being held in conditions where they don't have access to bathrooms, where they're given rotten food, where they're in places that are so crowded, rooms that are meant for just a dozen people with 60 people in them, that they can't even lay down despite their delicate medical conditions.
Thank you so much. Listen, Donald Trump has dehumanized people of color for decades. I want y'all to understand this is who he is. This is an actual feature of what it is to be Donald Trump. Instead of a flaw, he demanded the execution of innocent black boys. He has been sued many times for racial discrimination. He called African nations shithole countries. He said that, quote, immigrants poison the blood of our country. And he's repeatedly refused to denounce white supremacy. In fact, he's hired many white supremacists to work in this administration. And now they're carrying out this racist and violent mass deportation, and it is destroying our country. LA, we stand with you, and we stand with the rest of this country. Thank you so much.
Right now, I want to bring back Dr. Larry J. Walker, the associate professor at the University of Central Florida. What are your thoughts about?
Need to acknowledge that Congresswoman Crockett is by far one of the most effective Democrats on the Capitol Hill. Every time she speaks about issues relating to this or other topics, she's always really clear and concise in terms of the message she delivers. So in terms of some of the things clear points she had to make is, look, for people who are watching this and, family and friends, either you believe in democracy or you don't. In a country in which people have been, in this case, fairly, unfairly arrested, there is not only in terms of due process, but there's a level of humanity that has to be expected for those who find themselves in, part of the prison system, whether it's ICE or arrested for minor offenses. And what we've heard over the last several months and what you heard Congresswoman Crockett describe, it is not consistent with a democracy. In fact, I would even argue that, you would find the UN, if they came in and investigated what's some of the conditions in which we've heard described in this conversation and others, is, we would certainly see some UN human rights violations. So as Americans, you have to stand strong and decide if we're going to allow people, regardless of their immigration status, to be treated like human beings, or we're going to turn a blind eye and let these conditions continue to worsen and more people lose their lives.
So you feel like these concerns are legitimate?
Yeah, I mean, this is inhumane. I mean, we can't constantly allow people to be treated like this. You heard the Congresswoman talk about individuals who are on dialysis or various other health issues that they can't even sleep on a cot and maybe they have to sleep on the floor. We've heard all these conversations over the last couple of months about the food that individuals are receiving. In addition to that, what about all the pregnant women we've heard, in some cases, women losing the child because of the conditions they're living in and not receiving the kind of treatment they deserve? So, once again, the question I pose is if you believe in democracy, is this what a democratic nation looks like?
Tell us more about how people should be responding.
Yeah, I think that obviously, in the last couple of months since the election, we're seeing increasingly more people protest outside these facilities and protest elected officials, local, state, and federal level. And I think that, while there's some people may argue that this is not an effective tactic, it is. And how do we know that? Because history teaches that. When individuals protest from various racial, ethnic, and religious backgrounds, when they see injustice, then eventually the wheels of justice are turned in the right direction. But we need to see larger protests, and also for any corporations that are involved in supporting or platforms, social media platforms, then we should also not support those entities. And once again, apply pressure to local, state, or federal officials to make sure that once again that human beings are treated the way they should be treated.
Do you really believe that Trump policies are targeting Black?
Well, I think it's a coincidence or maybe not a coincidence. When we talk about, I know, Roland's talk on the show about, and we'll talk about today, the hundreds of thousands of Black women who lost jobs. I think we also saw the removal of TPS for Haitians, so hundreds of thousands of Haitians who can't possibly return to a country that's been ravaged by weather and economic conditions, and the number of gangs we see there. So I would say the policies and the public comments, like we heard talk about Somalians just in the last 24 hours, tell you where his priorities are in terms of how he views people, and also people of African descent. So I would say, actions speak louder than words, and as the saying goes, but we've seen the words and actions, not just over the last couple of days, but over the last several years.
What do you think is to come within the next year?
Well, I talked about the importance of protests as it relates to, what's happening right now. But I have a stark warning for Americans, is that things are not likely to get better if there's not some significant political change. The Republicans control the executive branch, the House and the Senate, and several state legislators. So it's going to be really incumbent on American citizens to stand strong. And once again, if you, like I said, if you see injustice, you've got to, and in this case, you certainly do, is to fight for it, fight against it, and make sure this tidal wave doesn't continue to hit and hurt as many Americans as possible.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase, and I'm here with a very important message. We are at a turning point in the Black community where we must have equity in the apps we use that scale to billions of dollars. But this time, we own the infrastructure, we own the culture, and we shape the future. And Fanbase is the future. Fanbase combines the free functionality of Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube into an all-in-one platform built for the evolution of social media and monetization. With over 1.4 million users, that's real proof that we are shifting the conversation of tech ownership and equity for creators. So right now, I want you to go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. The minimum to invest is $399. That gets you 60 shares of stock in Fanbase at $665 a share. This marks a turning point in Black ownership of social media. If we don't take this opportunity to own social media right now, we will always be customers to our own creations. And that can't go on. So once again, go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. We must own the platforms where our voices live, our stories matter, and where our culture drives the world. Thank you.
Folks, today is the filing deadline to announce you're running for office in Texas. And this is a live look of the original location of Friendship West Baptist Church, where Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett is announcing she's running for the United States Senate. Let's go live there. Here's Pastor Frederick Douglass Haynes III, who also filed today to run for the congressional seat that she was going to run for as well. Let's go live to Dallas. All right, folks. So there's an audio feed. I don't understand what's going on. So let's. What feed are we looking at? Okay. So. Okay, we're seeing this. Yes, it is. I got it on my YouTube channel, folks. I'm listening to it right now. So I don't understand. Go to YouTube. Go to Jasmine Crockett. Go to Jasmine for US. Pull up her YouTube channel. I'm listening to it right now. Okay, I'm telling y'all right now. Okay. I'm listening. Okay, control room. This is literally Freddie Haynes talking right now. So there's audio. So if y'all ain't hearing it, it's an issue in the control room. So there is audio. All right, let's do this here. Go to the feed. Let me go get my iPad, and I'll play it from here. So let's do this here. Play a commercial right now. I'll be right back in 60 seconds.
Violent white supremacy is, quote, the most persistent and lethal threat in the homeland.
The greatest terrorist threat to the homeland is the homegrown violence stream, including hate crime committed on behalf of some kind of white supremacist ideology.
They are coming after everything in Black America. MAGA and Donald Trump are specifically targeting Black America. They are going after the money. Attack Black Lives Matter. Attack critical race theory. Attack woke, DEI. MAGA wants to defund Black America. This is a perfect example
of their desire.
Y'all, problem fixed. Let's go live to Dallas.
Fight for those who cannot fight for themselves, but also fueled by faith as she puts on the whole armor of God. She's a facilitator. I love that about Jasmine Crockett, because especially during the last administration, she was a facilitator of funding that came to our district, that came to our community, because she's a fighter, she's a facilitator, but wait, she's a friend to everyday people. Listen, Jasmine Crockett has made District 30 a national district. Everybody in the nation knows Jasmine Crockett. She's the baddest sister out there. I'm talking about Jasmine Crockett, and yet as amazing as she is, as phenomenal as she is, she's remained a friend to everyday people. She's someone you can talk to and touch. She listens to you. I'm talking about Jasmine Crockett. So since Jasmine is a fighter, since she's a facilitator and a friend to everyday people, I guess I'll close by saying the future is bright with Jasmine Crockett. The future is bright. Our best days are in front of us, as dark as it is right now. With Jasmine, the light is about to break out and shine. And so, y'all, I've got confidence in Crockett. I know there is justice with Jasmine. I hope y'all get what I'm doing right now, because Jasmine Crockett, that master alliterator, is someone that we need for such a time as this. Y'all know I'm a preacher, so I got to at least use that on you, because Esther was called to the kingdom at a dark time. Esther was called to the kingdom when it looked like a people were going to get erased, and yet Esther stood up, and because she stood up, a future was facilitated. And so, y'all, here is our Esther, and I'm simply saying, in the name of Ann Richards, in the name of Barbara Jordan, in the name of Eddie Bernice Johnson, would you receive from me right now the next senator from the state of Texas? I'm talking about Jasmine Crockett.
Thank you so much, Pastor Haynes. If I can have everybody direct their eyes to the screen, please. Thank you.
How about this new one they have? Their new star, Crockett. How about her?
She's the new star of the Democrat Party, Jasmine Crockett. They're in big trouble.
But you have this woman, Crockett. She's a very low IQ person.
I watched her speak the other day. She's definitely a low IQ person.
Crockett. Oh, man. Oh, man.
She's a very low IQ person.
Somebody said the other day she's one of the leaders of the party. I said, you got to be kidding.
Now they're going to rely on Crockett. Crockett's going to bring them back.
All's my life I has to fight. All's my life hard time.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the moment that we have all been waiting for. The next U.S. Senator from this great state of Texas. Please welcome to the stage, Miss Jasmine Crockett!
We gon' be all right. Huh? We gon' be all right. We gon' be all right.
Y'all look good. Y'all look real good. But are you fired up? Are you ready to go? All right, Texas, let's get down to it. I know y'all are ready to hear some good news, and some of y'all already heard it before you even got here. Yes, it is true. I am running to become your next United States Senator from the state of Texas. I honestly can't put into words what it means to me. You see, a lot of people think that making decisions like this, you take them lightly. I'm here to tell you that I understand that there's a responsibility. I'm not reading from my script, so they're about to be confused. There's a responsibility that lies with all of us. especially in this moment. There are a lot of people that said, you got to stay in the house. We need our voice. We need you there. And I understand. But what we need is for me to have a bigger voice. What we need is not only a voice, but we need to make sure that we are going to stop all the hell that is raining down on all of our people. So over the last couple of months, I've been thinking about our future. Where do we go from here? And obviously, I've been thinking about Texas. I thought about my classmates from law school. One is standing right up front, Mr. Anthony Farmer. I thought about the big dreams we all had, fighting for justice in the courtroom, starting our own businesses, buying a home, starting families. If you think about it, our dreams were the American dream. Opportunities for those who work hard, home ownership, jobs, entrepreneurship, and security. And that time, we were headed into the Great Recession. I took a job in East Texas for a pretty well-known family-owned law firm. I began doing class action defense work. And honestly, I wondered if I'd made a mistake. I wondered if that was really what I was supposed to be doing. It just so happened that they had just started a new public defender's office in rural East Texas. And so I decided that I would join that public defender's office. I joined it because I believed everybody deserved a voice in the courtroom. Even if they couldn't afford an attorney, one would be provided to them, and that attorney was me. I loved being a courtroom warrior. I got some judges here. They probably can't identify themselves, but nevertheless, I loved being in the courtroom. You know, I never thought that I would run for office, but some people are able to inspire others as they walk their own path. As a 27-year-old public defender walking in her path, there was someone who came along and inspired me. There was this charismatic, funny, intelligent, and exciting young candidate with a funny name who just got into the U.S. Senate and was running for president. Many doubted if this country was ready, while others, well, we got to work and kept hope alive. We didn't focus on the naysayers. We didn't get distracted by any pollsters. We remained laser focused on getting the person who was best for the job into the seat. We didn't let history diminish our hope in what was possible. We ignored that the devil on our shoulder that sometimes tries to tell us your vote doesn't matter. The country's not ready. He can't win. And responded with that timeless American creed. Yes, we can. Yes, I'm talking about President Barack Obama. How many no's do you think he heard before he got a yes? No, you can't win. No, the country's not ready for a black president. No, a black man can't get elected. No, your middle name is Hussein. No, you can't beat the Clinton machine. But every time they told him no, he looked them right in the eyes and he told them yes. He said, yes, we can. Yes, we can deliver on health care. Yes, we can enshrine equal rights. Yes, we can bring jobs back to America, create opportunities for all. And yes, we can save the economy after a Republican president sends it into the gutter. People ran lies, rumors, and tried to poke holes in everything about Obama, from his faith to his heritage. Falsehoods about his daddy, mistruths about his mama. There was even a question about his birth certificate. But he didn't let any of that get in his way. He worked and worked and worked to inspire and instill a sense of hope. And man, do I remember. I remember hoping. Now, I don't know if I really believed. But I knew that we had to try. I knew that we had the power. He turned those no, you can'ts into yes, we cans. Yes, we deserve better. Yes, we will dig deep. Yes, we can. Back then, as the housing bubble burst and the economy crashed, I saw everyone around me struggling. I saw a system that ignored them and legal system that failed them. Then I remembered Obama's words, change will not come if we wait for some other person or some other time. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the change that we seek. So many of you don't know, but I was 28 by now. And I decided that I was going to run to become the Bowie County Democratic Party chair. I was elected as the youngest Black Democratic Party chair in the history of Texas. Later, I moved to Dallas, and frustrated by the broken laws on our books, I ran for the Texas House of Representatives to be that agent of change. I took on the establishment, ran against an incumbent, and there were folks in my ear, that devil on my shoulder, that said I could not win. I was being outspent 5-1. And even those that said I had to be less of myself, I tuned that noise out. And even though I was outspent, I was never outworked. When I look across this room, I see folks who knocked on doors for me back then in 2020. I see people who believed in me before any viral moments. I see people who believed that I could and would be different. I see the people that locked arms with me. Some of those elected officials that went out on a limb and endorsed me when nobody else would. You see, I didn't get anywhere on my own. Every step of the way has been with you. The people who have fueled this fire. You've chipped in your hard-earned money. Hey, donors, because I see some of y'all too. You put in the sweat equity under the hot Texas sun, knocking on doors, putting out signs. You've driven your neighbors to the polls, dragged your coworkers to go vote. You're the ones who walk your precincts, register thousands of voters, and you're the ones who flip seats across the state at every level. When Texas turns blue, it won't be because of any one candidate, but because of each and every one of you doing your part. Turning Texas blue is what I want to talk to y'all about today. Now, there are those that say, ain't no way, we done tried it 50 kinds of ways. Let me be clear, y'all ain't never tried it the JC way. We used to telling us what I can't do, but they have no idea what Crockett's crew will do. And so I just want to be clear, for all the haters in the back, listen up real loud. We gonna get this thing done. So they tell us that Texas is red. They are lying. We're not. The reality is that most Texans don't get out to vote. The reality is that the people that I used to work with in the Texas House did everything that they could to make sure that they could suppress voices. If we were so red, they wouldn't be so pressed. Let me be clear. The reason that the governor always got time to call out my name is because he understands that I know how to speak to everybody, not just some folk. There are folks who feel like their vote doesn't matter and that nothing will change or that candidates don't speak to them. And honestly, I can't blame them. But I'm here to address those Texans specifically who feel as their vote doesn't matter. Let me tell you it does. Earlier, I talked about my first race for state representative, and I talked about the fact that I was outspent 5-1. They had the money, but I had the people. When the first batch of votes came out, I was down by 700 votes. I told my team it was over. Carmen, who's right up front, rushes down and says, no, we about to go to elections. I said, y'all, it's over. We've been voting for 3 weeks and we down by 700. We ain't coming back. Around 10 o'clock, somehow somebody said, Rep, you only down, well, I wasn't Rep then. You only down by 50 votes. I said, oh, we getting good. We getting good. I said, now y'all tell me what's still out. Is anything out? Are we done? Because it was getting late. And they said, MLK is still out. I said, oh. I said, if anybody came through for me, it was going to be MLK. And when I tell y'all, when the votes were counted, I had won by 90 votes. Out of 10,000 votes that were cast, I won by 90. It was the closest state house race in the entire state of Texas that year. So you know where those votes came from? They came from the mom who organized the entire neighborhood to go vote because she knew I would fight like hell for her daughter. It came from the retired firefighter who talked to each and every one of his or her neighbors in the senior homes and the people that they lived around. It came from everywhere. It came from the churches. It came from home healthcare workers who ran across the street to vote at the library during their lunch break. It came from citizens who hadn't voted in years, but went to cast their ballots because they believed that I would bring a new generation of servant leadership to the government of the people, by the people, for the people. Each and every one of those votes made up the 90 votes we needed to bring change. And I'm going to add this. It even came from unhoused folk. See, what y'all don't understand is that people like to devalue certain people. But the only place that equalizes us is at the ballot box. So I don't ever want anybody, no matter what your socioeconomic background is, to believe that you don't matter or you don't count, because the time that you count is when you are at the ballot box. A single grain of rice can tip the scales. Every single vote counts, and that couldn't be truer in the United States Senate. It was a single vote in the United States Senate that saved the Affordable Care Act, that saved millions of Americans' health care coverage. That vote was cast by John McCain, who showed bravery and honored his oath of service. Yeah, clap it up. He bucked his party's president to do what was right for his constituents. Sadly enough, we all know that Senator John Cornyn does not have the guts to stand up to Trump. But I can tell y'all who does. I do. Cornyn carries on with business as usual while small businesses across Texas take the hit from Trump's tariffs. Well, I'm done with politics as usual. I'm done with going along to get along, and it gets us nowhere. I'm done watching rural hospitals and public schools close their doors. I'm done watching parents be afraid to send their kids to school or the mall or the movies because Republicans have flooded our streets with guns. I'm done with the senators sitting around doing nothing while Trump takes your hard-earned money, skims your Social Security, slashes Medicare, and gives tax breaks to billionaires. I'm done. I'm done watching the American dream on life support while Trump tries to pull the plug. The gloves have been off, and now I'm jumping into the ring. I'm asking for your support to be the next United States Senator from the greatest state of Texas. I'm running because I don't ever lose focus of the people and what we deserve. We deserve a government that is by the people and of the people, not one that's bought and paid for, not politicians who are self-serving and line their own pockets. Most of you know that I am a civil rights and criminal defense attorney, that I made a living arguing cases before juries and fighting for Texas who were harmed to receive justice. I have won cases and convinced juries in the deepest, reddest parts of this state. And I'm ready to make the case to the people of the great state of Texas. My experience spans both state and federal. As you may have seen, I have spent more time on the federal level than I did on the state level. And frankly, I'm very well aware of what is happening on the federal level, on the deepest levels of the federal level. If elected to the Senate, actually when, I was about to say, y'all slow. I will begin on day one fighting to lower costs, deliver on health care, make home ownership and entrepreneurship accessible to all, and hold Trump accountable. I'll hit the ground running because I'm already in the belly of the beast right now. Many people wonder why I jumped in this race so late, and I just want to be clear that this was never my intention. This was never about me. I never put myself into any of the polls. Listen, my question was, which congressional seat would I be running for? And for Texas 30, I love you, Texas 30. Okay, I'm gonna finish. But the more I saw the poll results, I couldn't ignore the trends, which were clear, both as it relates to the primary as well as the general election. I could have played it safe and continued serving in the United States House of Representatives for as long as my constituents would have me. But I don't choose to do that. Because Texas, this moment we're in now, is life or death. It's all or nothing. It's now or never. We find ourselves at a crossroads. We're faced with a hard choice to make people believe. We've got to make sure that they understand that we are not to go back. We are not to allow our hard-earned progress of our foremothers to be wiped away. We lose Social Security, Medicare. We lose the right to vote, to love, and live freely. That's one path where we go back in time. The other path is learning to live in Trump's America and shrinking ourselves into the shadows. It looks like people who are afraid to worship or love freely because people are simply, right now, afraid to walk down the streets. It looks like a country facing denial, bank loan denied, healthcare denied, American dream denied. But I'm here to tell you there is a third path, a path where we move forward as one people united under a common vision, a path where we reject Trump's false promises and reject his lies and division. I'm asking you to walk down this path with me, shoulder to shoulder, and envision a Texas where every child, no matter their story, can go to the best public schools, can afford to go to college or learn a skilled trade, a Texas where that child has every opportunity to grow and thrive. That means nutrition, healthcare, mental health, and safety. Imagine a Texas where that child grows up and can buy a home with first-time home buyers assistance. Imagine that child wants to start a business and create jobs in their community they live in Texas, where they can actually access some capital to get started. Now contrast that to our reality today, where a child's opportunities are limited by their zip codes. I think about the children in Houston who had their school district taken over by Abbott. I think about the children in Lufkin who went hungry this summer after Republicans cut funding for summer EBT. I think about the young adults and families in Amarillo that would love to buy their own home but can't afford it. I think about the farmer in Loving County who had to find his way to the nearest hospital miles and miles away because Texas has closed more rural hospitals than any other state. And by the way, if you know farmers, it takes quite a lot before they'll even think about going to the doctor. So I know this. This man was in pain, and his pain was ignored and neglected by 3 decades of Republican domination in Texas. And I'm going to keep taking down this path with me. But let's first address the elephant in the room, quite literally. I know many of you are wondering why I'm running for a seat that everyone says cannot be won. The last time Texas elected a Democrat to the United States Senate, I was 7 years old. Do not try to do the math. Cornyn was already 36 and serving as a district judge. For most of us, a Republican-controlled Texas is all we've known. But we cannot let that diminish our faith and belief in what can be. I stand before you because I'm not looking backwards in the past. My eyes are fully ahead and fixed on the bright horizon ahead of us. I'm running for this seat because I'm going to be hung up on the brokenness. I'm not going to be hung up on the brokenness of the past. I'm focused on fixing up our future. Many people have asked, and all of us wonder, can we win this race in November? I'm here to say, yes, we can. I'm also here to say it's not if we can, but if we will. If we will get out and knock the doors, call the people, and meet them where they are. It's a matter of if we will do the work to have the necessary conversations about the future of our nation. Will we come together as one? This isn't about me or them. It's about you and us. This is not about ambition. It's not about my ambition. It's about yours. Your hopes and your dreams, and a government that has your back, not pushes you back. No Democrat has done what we're seeking to do, and that is win a statewide election in Texas in the 21st century. So there is no roadmap. There is no blueprint, and there is no cheat code. So for everybody that thinks they got it, just watch and I'll give it to you. This path we're going on together is one that must be forged ourselves. So let's be honest, if there was anyone with the recipe, well, they would have already won. But I also know this, if Mississippi can flip seats, then why can't Texas? If Georgia can elect 2 Democrats to the United States Senate, then Texas can too. In 2012, Mitt Romney won Texas by 16 points. In 2016, Trump won Texas by 9 points. As his administration went on and people felt the hurt, his margin in 2020 shrunk. In 2020, as people were fed up with his administration, as people sat around the dinner table, 500,000 American families stared at the empty chairs. The chairs once filled by loved ones who died from COVID. I remember the long lines, the lines we waited in for rapid testing, the line folks needing unemployment, the long lines at the food banks. Well, guess what, y'all? Under Trump 2.0, people are still unemployed or forced to work multiple jobs. And after all the cuts to SNAP, the rising cost of everything except wages, food banks are stepping up once again to fill the gap. But I remember another place where the lines were so long and in many places wrapped around the building, and that was at the polls. We turned our pain into purpose. We kept the faith and we did the work. We put fear in the hearts as the margins tightened and we were closing the gap. What did they do in response? Did they take a look in the mirror? Try to offer real solutions to the real issues? No. Instead, they decided to come up with ways to keep you from being heard, to make it harder to vote and easier to cheat. Well, I'm here to tell you, don't cheat yourselves. Don't fall for the okie doke. I'm asking you not to worry about the naysayers, the critics, and the haters, because they already here, y'all. It's not about them or what they believe. It's about you and us, what we know is possible when people come together. So I'm asking you to tune out those intrusive voices that say she can't win because she's black, because she's a woman, or because she's a Democrat. If you believe women should be in all spaces, then I ask you to stand with me. If you believe we should be judged by the content of our character, then I'm asking for your support. And if you believe this election should be about the issues, who has the better policies and ideas, and who is best for the job, then I ask for your vote in the Democratic primary election this March and again in November. You see, we know what the Republican tactics will be. A flood of lies and attacks designed to turn blacks against whites, city against country, and you against me. They are experts in the politics of division. It's how they've gotten here. Division is how Trump got elected and then re-elected. This election is about adding voices to our electorate, about multiplying turnout with a robust operation and a unifying message that asks, how is it that Texas is prospering, but the people are struggling? We have the 8th largest economy in the world, yet kids go hungry. Seniors have to skip their prescriptions. Parents are forced to choose between braces for their children or hospice for their parents. We are the #1 state in exports, driving the American economy, yet somehow we are also #1 in uninsured women and children. The state is thriving while the people are facing tribulation. We are better than that, tougher than that, and Texas deserves better, and together we will. This campaign is for those who believe that the government should work harder than the people it serves. This campaign is for every single person that is done with politics as usual, that's fed up with the establishment, that's sick and tired of being sick and tired. Texas has no shortage of talent, no shortage of ideas, grit, or tenacity. Our state powers this nation. Our economy drives the world. Texas is a big boy state made up of brawlers and people with a moral code. Our representation should reflect that, and sadly enough, it doesn't. After evaluating the data, analyzing the trends, researching historic numbers, and combing over the crosstabs, it was clear the numbers were strongest for my candidacy for United States Senate. That's why I decided to enter this race, because otherwise I would have continued doing what I've always done, which is support whichever candidate had the strongest numbers. So I want to be clear. I'm not running just to run. This is about winning. As a candidate who is constantly attacked and seen as a threat, it's because I am. I'm a threat to the system that's been holding us back from our full potential. I'm a threat to a system that works to protect politics as usual, that seeks to maintain the despair and unfairness in our state. I'm a threat to those that have lost their moral compass, abandoned their purpose, and want to be kings instead of public servants. I'm the only candidate in this race who has served on the federal level, has taken on this administration, and sought accountability. I'm the only one who has gone toe-to-toe with Donald Trump, and there's a reason he's always got my name in his mouth. There's a reason John Cornyn has been attacking me since before I even entered this race. There's a reason folks have tried everything they could think of to try to keep me out of this race. And I believe that's because Trump has seen the same numbers I have. I have a track record of getting people out to vote, moving people who were disillusioned with politics and felt like their vote didn't matter. Since running for public service, I have vowed to increase accountability, accessibility to every office I've held. Through it all, I've never lost sight of the people. I've built winning coalitions and brought together voters of all backgrounds, all stars and stripes, and every walk of life under the common belief that government should be of and for the people. Government should work to make living easy for those who work hard for a living. My message, rooted in slashing costs, making home ownership and entrepreneurship attainable for all, strengthening and growing the middle class, is one that Texas, all of Texas, from the Panhandle to Port Arthur and from El Paso to East Texas, can believe in. This campaign is about winning with a strong, multiracial, multi-generational coalition of people that is reflective of this great state that is, by the way, 61% people of color. There is room in this campaign for everyone who feels like our state is heading in the wrong direction. And that's the majority of Texans, whether you live in Dallas County or Dickens County. Groceries are too expensive. The light bill won't stop going up. People are being crushed by their rent or their mortgages. That's why I'm running now, to get Texas back on track, to be a fighter for the middle class. Hardworking Texans, ranchers, farmers, young families, oil workers, small businesses, and everyday people who make this state vibrant and make us an economic powerhouse. Today, under Trump and 3 decades of Republican rule in Texas, those very Texans are under daily attack. They are attacked for how they worship, who they love, what language their grandmother speaks. And you don't know who will be next on the chopping block. I'm running to protect Texans from these attacks and safeguard the rights our Constitution guarantees. I'm running to knock down the door to opportunities that have only been cracked open for the elite few. I'm running to make home ownership and entrepreneurship pillars of the American dream an obtainable reality for all Americans once more. I'm running to get Washington back to work on issues that actually matter. Together, we will send a signal to the entire nation. Don't mess with Texas. And certainly don't count us out. I believe I am the candidate in the strongest position to defeat whoever emerges after they finally get out of their stuff. Even if that's my buddy and dancing partner, John Cornyn. John Cornyn has spent 41 years in elected office. Anyway, I'm not even gonna get off track. He's been an elected official since I was 3 years old. Speaking of 3, I want y'all to know that Cornyn has been in office so long that he collects 3 fat pensions, courtesy of you, the taxpayer, on top of his Senate salary, which is also paid for by you. By the time I graduated law school in 2006, Cornyn was already drawing his first pension. Guess Doge didn't catch that one, huh? But anyway, so after 4 decades and 4 fat checks every month, Cornyn has forgotten who sent him to the Senate. He's forgotten he works for 30 million people in Texas, not one Florida man who's never called this state home. About 2 pensions ago, Cornyn used to actually try and help Texas. He used to speak out against Trump, the candidate, and denounce the border wall. What happened, Big John? Because now all you're doing is bending the knee, kissing the ring, and running ads about how you vote 99% of the time with Trump. Well, John, I kept telling you, you had a 1% problem. And the problem is putting the 1% of Americans who are billionaires before the 99% of us who have to wake up every day, clock in, and hustle to make ends meet. The 99% of us who had to go out and earn what is ours. It wasn't handed to us by Daddy. At a time such as this, we cannot afford to have a senator who cowers away from a fight worth fighting. I will be tougher on behalf of all 30 million Texans. At the end of the day, the Republicans, they know they're in hot water. They shut the government down for more than 40 days and 40 nights while people scramble to make ends meet and keep America open. His economic policies and his tariffs have drained our bank accounts, forcing millions to live paycheck to paycheck. While SNAP funding hung in the balance and families had to figure out how they'd even put bread and water on the table, mothers fed their children bread with butter and a sprinkle of sugar to quiet those growling tummies. And while this was the reality for middle America, Trump and his cronies were busy planning a lavish Thanksgiving feast. Now, Christmas is around the corner, and after a whole year of office with Trump, what has he done? Absolutely nothing to fulfill his #1 campaign promise, which was to bring down costs. Well, prices have tripled since Trump became president, and we're all feeling it. When I first got to Congress, I served on the Agriculture Committee. I worked on the Farm Bill and SNAP. And let me tell you, between delaying the Farm Bill, offering no real solutions on immigration, slashing SNAP, and slapping on tariffs, nobody has been hit harder than our farmers, ranchers, and the millions who grow our food. At a time when farmers are filing record bankruptcies, when grocery stores are going up even more to cover the cost of all of their economic loss activity because of the SNAP cuts, and as more rural hospitals close in Texas than anywhere else, how can our senator go along with this? How can he vote for 99% of this and then ask for yet another term with a straight face? John, you listening? You're the only one in Texas who gets 4 checks to do 1 job. Meanwhile, there are households where both parents work 2 jobs. The oldest child has to get a job as soon as they legally can, and still the family is barely keeping their head above water. That is the reality for far too many people. But John Cornyn and his MAGA buddies, or shall I say frenemies, since we never know how he really feels about MAGA. They're so far out of touch with reality. They live in their own worlds. The cost of everything has gone up except for wages. People are working more and they're working harder. But that check is looking just the same, and that dollar doesn't stretch as far. They'll tell you that my agenda is out of left field, when in reality, it's just right for Texas. My agenda is affordability, it's healthcare, it's energy independence, it's American manufacturing, it's protecting our natural resources, it's providing the best education to every child and not saddling them with lifelong debt in the process. When prices are lower, that dollar goes further. Consumers have more confidence in spending power, businesses thrive, and our economy is healthy. The more people that are insured, the less healthcare will cost for all of us. If we spend on preventative care, we can save way more instead of waiting until somebody is sick. When we invest in clean energy, your utility bill goes down. When we build more housing, the rents and mortgages come down. When we have more affordable childcare, Head Start, and universal pre-care, then families will have that huge burden lifted from them. Childcare has become a second rent. Y'all say amen if you got children, because y'all know I ain't got none. I heard they expensive. My whole platform is rooted in my belief that life should be more affordable for those who make America run. It's centered around opportunity and a fair shake to work hard, get ahead, and have a chance to earn your dream no matter your story. To live in a country where you know your rights will be protected at every level, to feel safe walking down the street. That's what I have always fought to do, and I won't let up now. The stakes and the prices are way too high. That is why Democrats are truly about. This is what Democrats is truly about, and it's our opportunity now to remind the nation of what it looks like when we put our values into action. While Democrats were working overtime to protect healthcare and lower costs of insurance, prescriptions, and the care you need to be alive, Trump was too busy golfing, y'all. I don't even want to tell y'all how much money y'all spent on that. He was looking over carpet patterns and paint swatches. Y'all know, for his little room. Anyway, while Americans had to decide between paying the car note or paying the mortgage, Trump's toughest choice was between Chantilly lace or alabaster for his billionaire ballroom. The American people have been watching, and even those who weren't watching, they felt the effects and know the pain. Trump's unpopular policies will cost him the Republican majority in the Congress. He knows that, and that's why he called Greg Abbott and said, I need 5 seats from Texas. I'm entitled to them. And Abbott got right to it. Well, Trump, I know you're watching, so let me tell you directly, you're not entitled to a damn thing in Texas. You better get to work, because I'm coming for you. He knew he would lose. So Trump did what he always does, resort to lying, cheating, and stealing. He has rigged our elections once again by changing the lines in the middle of an election cycle. And the cherry on the top, Trump drew me out of my home district. I know he's tired of me holding him accountable, dismantling his lies, and I know he's tired of me breaking through to millions of Americans, tired of me getting people out to vote, tired of me living in his head rent-free. Well, Mr. President, you couldn't beat me at the ballot box. And so, as y'all know, a judge that you appointed, Mr. President, he said your maps were unconstitutional, but you ran it up to your loyal activist cronies at the Supreme Court and snatched representation away from almost 500,000 people I represented right here in CD 30. Well, I'm here to tell you, Donald Trump, you won't get rid of me that easily. I'm not going away. I'm not giving up. I still believe in this country. I still believe that we are in the land of opportunity. I still believe in the bright beacon of hope amidst a sea of despair. I still believe Texas will lead the way and prove to this nation and the world what I know to be true. So I'm asking you, will you join me in this campaign? Will you join me in the work and turn this moment into a movement? I'm asking you to wake up every day between now and November, yes, every day, and ask yourself daily, what am I going to do today to elect the leadership I wish to see? Who am I'm going to call today about why I need to vote, what will my contribution to turning Texas blue be? It's also why I've sought to bring about unity within our party as well. I did my best to make sure that we had a strong ticket with candidates running up and down the ballot. We're not leaving any races out. Everything is on the line. I need you to know that this is bigger than any one person and any one candidate. For us to win this race, we have to win together. We have to run as a team. Like I said before, and we'll keep echoing, this isn't about me. This isn't about them. It's about you. We're going to go and win this election for the people. As I close, I want to send a message to Donald Trump and the whole nation. Don't take Texas for granted and don't count us out. It's our time. We are one. God bless Texas and let freedom ring.
All right, everybody, let's give it up one more time for the next U.S. Senator from the state of Texas. All right. If everybody can remain in their place temporarily, DJ. All right. So, my elected officials in the middle, if you can exit the same way you came in, my young lady on my right and your left will guide you. Everybody after that, can you please go to where the entrance door is and you'll line up there. And it isn't mandatory, but Jasmine wants to take a picture with you guys, so if we can do it in an orderly fashion, that would be great. Thank you so much.
All right, folks, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett just announced she's running for the United States Senate in Texas. Colin Allred, former Congressman Colin Allred, who ran for the U.S. Senate against Ted Cruz, was in the race. He dropped out today. He filed to run for Congress in District 33, so they ran in that particular race there, and so that's what's going on there. Let's bring in my panel, Randy Bryant, DEI disruptor, joining from D.C., Ome Congo Dominguez, Senior Professor of Electoral School of International Service, American University, State Representative Jolanda Jones of Texas. Jolanda, let me start with you first. Congresswoman Crockett, this is big news, obviously. A lot of people are like, oh my gosh, she's guaranteed to lose. But she talked about it. Texas is 61% minority, but 61% of the folks who vote in Texas are white. The issue here is Trump's numbers among Latinos has dropped in a massive way. The numbers have dropped in a huge, huge way. And so now what you're seeing is, this whole thing now coming out. When you look at the numbers, she's saying, hey, Republicans are nervous, saying that if Ken Paxton beats Cornyn in the primary, they say, hey, Paxton is going to be in trouble. And so she's like, hey, she studied the numbers, and that's what they're saying. Hey, if Paxton is an issue, if he wins, then that could be problematic for Republicans by having someone with her name ID and the ability to raise money running for U.S. Senate.
Well, I think she said everything she was supposed to say. And I think that if anybody can motivate people to get out and vote who don't have faith in the system, I think it's probably her. And so, I mean, I'm excited to hear it. So I didn't know what she was going to say, but I think she hit all the nails on the head that she needed to hit. And as a person who lives in Texas, I'm sick of the people that we have as our senators. They never do anything for us. So I think that her running for Senate has caused a bunch of confusion in other places, but I think that'll all work itself out one way or the other. I mean, I've already heard all kind of conspiracy theories about what's going on in Dallas. And I also think it's interesting that Pastor Frederick Haynes, who I'm really good friends with, announced to run for Jasmine's seat. So I'm excited to see. Hopefully it'll help people down ballot everywhere in Texas. So I think if anybody can motivate black people to come out to vote, it's probably her. So I'm excited. I mean, Texas needs to go in a different direction. And I think that what Trump intended for bad, I think God maybe end up having it go for good, because I, again, think it's going to help everywhere, including all those racistly gerrymandered seats.
Absolutely. And, listen, a lot of people out here on Congo saying, well, she can't win. But the bottom line is, I remember they said, she referred to it, look in Georgia. You can't look at what's happening in Georgia, and you can't win there. Somebody has to run. And you have to, listen, Texas has 254 counties. Democrats only have offices in 81. It's an unorganized state. Texas has the most eligible black voters of any state in the country. Significant Latino votes, many of them who are eligible but not registered to vote. And so Crockett's whole deal is if she can appeal to younger voters, reach black voters in East Texas, get anywhere from 30% of the white vote, have a big black and Latino turnout, she says she thinks she has a shot.
Yeah, she absolutely has a shot, and it's going to be interesting to see how people play her against Tallarico and their differences. And I think people can talk a lot about the Hispanic vote and where that's going to go because people are so angry with Trump. But I actually think, Roland, that the biggest demographic that's going to be of interest in Texas is going to be the female vote. Because we don't talk about it on a national level in terms of a lot of the mainstream media networks, but some of these stories that are going on of what's happening with women and the abortion ban, so many of these stories we read in like ProPublica and all of these places, they're happening in Texas. And the stories that in terms of women just basically being shackled on some levels, also the challenges with it being illegal just to give consultation about abortions and all of those types of things, I think that's also going to rile up a lot of women. And that's not something that's new for Jasmine Crockett. She talked often about being on the campaign trail for Biden and Kamala and talking to women and hearing their stories. This is something that she's really passionate about. It is always something that she's been strong about. And I feel like that's going to be a strong case as well. And she's the only woman who was in this Senate race in Texas. And so I believe that Texas had the lowest voter turnout second lowest voter turnout of the presidential election. I think with people like her and Tallarico being in the race, that's going to change exponentially. But quite honestly, Roland, I was hearing her talk so much and I was just thinking like, Crockett 28. And I'm like, okay, right. It's not the presidential. But my point is that she sounds so presidential and she sounds so ready. And that comes from somebody who's been battle tested from all of the experiences that she had. And I think that she would be a great representative for Texas. I hope they see the same way.
Randy.
She can win. Revolutionary things happen in times like this, times of great strife. And I believe that she does have an incredible chance of winning. She will get people to the polls. People want someone who will fight for them. And if Congresswoman Crockett has done nothing else the last several months, is that she has been the voice of the people. She has shown us that she is not scared in the face of the bullies that are running the administration right now. And people crave that. She provides hope to us, and we need that. So I believe her chances are actually better than some may think. And I think even Trump has worked to her favor. If he weren't scared, he would not mention her as much as he does. He recognizes her power. And so we need to recognize our power and not at all back up because of what the naysayers may say. I am behind her 100%, and I look forward to celebrating her victory.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase, and I'm here with a very important message. We are at a turning point in the Black community where we must have equity in the apps we use that scale to billions of dollars. But this time, we own the infrastructure, we own the culture, and we shape the future. And Fanbase is the future. Fanbase combines the free functionality of Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube into an all-in-one platform built for the evolution of social media and monetization. With over 1.4 million users, that's real proof that we are shifting the conversation of tech ownership and equity for creators. So right now, I want you to go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. The minimum to invest is $399. That gets you 60 shares of stock in Fanbase at $665 a share. This marks a turning point in Black ownership of social media. If we don't take this opportunity to own social media right now, we will always be customers to our own creations. And that can't go on. So once again, go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. We must own the platforms where our voices live, our stories matter, and where our culture drives the world. Thank you.
All right, y'all. A week ago, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett announced she's running for the United States Senate, and all of a sudden, man, the haters and the bots all of a sudden came out, and they're talking about Israel and Gaza and all these issues, and now you got a bunch of people saying, oh, my God, there's no way the black woman can win. Oh, my God, she is just too divisive. Oh, my God, we don't like how she talks. And you read the comments that we're going to lose. We're guaranteed to lose. I'm sorry. Texas has not voted for a Democrat statewide since 1994. That year, 4 Democrats won. They ain't had one since. Not one. So I'm trying to figure out how you somehow are guaranteed to win. Now, here's the deal. What people are concerned about is that on the Republican side, you got crazy, deranged, MAGA Attorney General Ken Paxton, that corrupt fool, who's trying to take out longtime Texas Senator John Cornyn. Now, there are Democrats who believe that, oh, my goodness, that this could be our best chance at winning as a result. Well, that's true. But it's still not guaranteed. So I'm trying to figure out what the hell all the people are talking about. So there was a piece I saw in the Daily Beast that made a hell of a lot of sense, titled, Democrats Must Stop Bickering, Jasmine Crockett Deserves Her Shot. The author of the piece is Kavan Schroff, Democratic strategist, and an attorney. Kavan, glad to have you on the show. This is what was just dumb to me. Here's what I don't understand. State Representative James Tallarico announced that he was going to run for the United States Senate. Former Congressman Colin Allred, who ran last year, got blown out by Senator Ted Cruz by 10 points after raising $80 million. He pulls out when Crockett gets in. And so all of these people are like, oh, my God, this is crazy. She's going to guarantee we lose. There hasn't been one since 94. So what the hell are these people talking about?
Right. And I think to your point, right, we haven't won in 30 years. So maybe it's time to shake up the playbook. You know, Allred, I think he was an okay candidate last year when he ran against
He was awful.
Cruz.
He was awful.
He ran.
No, Kavan. No, I'm going to say it. He was awful. He did not.
It's the same old moderate playbook of trying to win those swing voters at the margins.
There you go.
And that hasn't worked for Democrats time and time again. And so why not try something new? And I will say, you know, there's a lot of discourse online, as you noted, but when you have a candidate that's digitally viral all the time, like Jasmine Crockett, that says she wants to expand the tent, reach new voters who are disengaged. By the way, the last midterm cycle in Texas, 2022, 10 million registered voters did not show up. So this is about mobilization and reaching those folks. And then third, candidates that speak truth to power, call out MAGA. When it's a Graham Plattner, when it's a Zoran Mamdani, when it's an Afton Ben, when it's a white person or a man, they get anointed the future of the party. When it's Jasmine Crockett, suddenly everybody's pearl clutching, and she doesn't even deserve to get in the primary. By the way, when have you ever heard this said about a white man? She shouldn't get in the primary because she's going to win the primary. That's the problem people have with her.
Right. So I'm sitting here listening to these people, and so I pulled up some stuff, and I was like, okay, let me take a look. So if I go to, I was sitting here, let me try to find it. Because I was trying to pull up all the names. And so let's see here. And I wanted to pull up, like, who ran last time? And I wanted to see, so we know Beto O'Rourke ran against Ted Cruz in 2018. He lost. Then Colin Allred, and let's be real clear, there were a number of people who ran in the Democratic primary in 2024. Colin Allred did not run unopposed. He had to run in the primary. So I don't get why. Hell, let's see if it's Crockett Tallarico, who campaigns the best, who makes the best arguments, and then if you win the primary, you go on to the general. Last I checked, that's called democratic process.
Right, and I think this is an argument we see from the far left all the time, which is that they don't feel like they have to pay their dues to the Democratic Party. And I don't mean the establishment, I mean the voters and the organizers and the local folks who show up and do the work every single day, not just around an election. And whether it's Bernie Sanders or somebody else, they think they should just get to skip to the end. They don't ever have to win a primary, and everyone has to listen to them. And I think the other dynamic we're seeing here is, sure, some of the takes in post-2024, and I heard you talking about this in the previous segment, have focused on woke and DEI and culture wars. What's more of a culture war than saying we can't let a qualified Black woman run in a primary because she's unelectable? There's nothing more than that. By the way, you want to talk about racism? I think it's so clear when you look at the issue of Gaza and you compare James Tallarico and Jasmine Crockett. This is the issue a lot of folks want to preclude her from joining on. They pretty much have the same position. The only difference is James was pretty much irrelevant. He wasn't in Congress. He's not in the Senate. Nobody cared what he thought about the issue. But when he's spoken about it, he's been aligned with Jasmine Crockett. So to say that's your deciding issue against the Black woman, of course that reads as racist.
Actually, so I just pulled this up. This is right here. Colin Allred, this is just last year, Kavon. Colin Allred defeated 8 other candidates in the Democratic primary. There were 9 people that ran. Oh, including State Senator Roland Gutierrez. He's Latino. Carl Sherman, who's African American. You had some white candidates too. It was 9 people running. So we're losing it because some people, they think, like this one guy posted, James Tallarico is a dream candidate. And I said, can you define for me how he's a dream candidate? I'm still waiting. And again, this is not shading Tallarico. I've been to, first of all, I'm from Texas A&M graduate, okay? And I went down to the state capitol. Tallarico was one of the biggest voices against Greg Abbott's stupid scam voucher bill. I sat with Tallarico in his office and made a video with him. Okay, I'm not opposed to the guy. What I'm opposed to are these ignorant Democratic progressives, and most of the ones I see talking ain't even from Texas. They got no vote whatsoever, opining on a Texas primary when they don't know shit about Texas.
And also, it is interesting, right? I agree with you. You know, I think James Tallarico brings some different ideas and a different approach to the table, much like Jasmine Crockett. And so the idea is we have 2 candidates trying a new approach, trying to reach new voters with a different message. Let them both get out there and communicate instead of forcing somebody out of the race before they've even had the chance to compete. And I will say the other thing that seems so messed up about this conversation, for lack of a better word, is that the idea that Jasmine Crockett is so dumb that she got tricked or duped into joining this race. And I think, first of all, this is somebody who's gotten themselves elected to Congress. She's an attorney. She's proven at every hearing that she is absolutely aware of her own facts. She knows how to do the research. There's no chance that's the reality of the situation. Mind you, at the same time, the same critics of her were running around with an NRC SC poll talking about Graham Plattner and justifying his run with that data. So there's just so much hypocrisy in this conversation. And it's interesting to see James Tallarico obviously felt that this is going to be a drag on him, the toxic online mob that's supporting him, that he had to put out a video after Crockett announced, basically saying, we're going to treat her with respect. We're going to talk about our ideas. And I think that's good leadership from him. Of course, are they going to listen? We'll see.
Kaivan, I got another one for you. The 2020 Texas Democratic primary. There were 12 people who ran. There were 12 candidates. MJ Hagar and Royce West, State Senator Royce West, they went to a runoff. Hagar beats West, who's African-American, Hagar, who's white. In the primary, she goes on, gets beat by 1.07 million votes. And again, that's the other thing. Okay, so 2020, in this race here, Hagar wins the Democratic primary, loses by 1.07 million votes to John Cornyn. Beto runs against Cruz in 2018, loses by 215,000 votes. Colin Allred, who a lot of these people were saying, oh my God, he's a perfect candidate. Why did Crockett get in? He lost by 960,000 votes to Ted Cruz. So let's see here. So if you're trying to win Texas, let's see. 61% of Texas is minority, meaning Latino and Black, Asian, Native American. But 61% of the people who vote are white. So let's see. Congresswoman Crockett is saying, yo, I'm not trying to compete for Republican voters. I'm not going to be Republican light. What I want to do is go after turnout Democratic voters, or go after people who are registered or not registered, but who likely lean Democrat. that to me makes some sense because the strategy of converting suburban Republican voters, I haven't seen any evidence that that actually has worked. Oh, and by the way, haven't you noticed, Guy Vaughn, how they've now trying to rewrite Beto ran as a progressive? Oh, no, he didn't.
By the way, the same people that are clobbering Kamala Harris for daring to embrace Liz Cheney, which, by the way, is a totally overstated rewriting of 2024, they've been hammering her on that for months. They now want Texas Senate candidate, the Democrat, to run the same playbook. And they want Crockett out with that same logic. So it doesn't add up. And by the way, Texas, as I'm sure your viewers may be more aware than the general viewer, has the most black people in the country, in the state. So Jasmine Crockett will be the only major black woman female candidate in this race. And it's, again, not about identity politics. It's about speaking to communities that are under attack under this administration. It's absolutely a compelling message. And by the way, if it wasn't compelling, she wouldn't have the platform that she has. And people, the usual pundits, don't understand a candidate like Jasmine Crockett, because I already saw people criticizing her out the gate with her viral video, and they said she's too focused on herself. People know who she is. She is a star of the party. And by the way, she's not like a boring candidate who has to get every word in that first launch video. People are going to follow her. They're going to pay attention to her. They're going to hear from her over the course of this campaign all the time.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. And I did something the other day, and I said point blank, I said, I'm from Texas. All my family's there. I talked to a lot of people. Israel in Gaza is not the dominant issue in this race. So to all of a sudden say she's just like Kamala Harris. No, we see what's going on here. And I warn people, don't fall for the bot game. Don't fall for that okie doke. And again, if that's your issue, that's your issue. But here's the deal. You know what's going to happen? You got to look at what Tallarico's record is, what hers is, and what Cornyn and Paxton's is. So whoever wins Democratic primary, they're going to be running against somebody who is hardcore Israel. Hello? It's called winning.
That's the point, right? It's like, if that's your issue, I saw some ridiculous account that they disqualified both James. It's a pro-Democrat account or a pro-left account. Disqualified both Jasmine Crockett and James Tallarico. They put a big social media post out with an X on both of them. So what do you want? So you're not part of anything. You don't care. You just want to get engagement. You just want to sort of be a detractor and be angry. But certainly that approach is not a solution where, okay, Democrats have no candidate that meets your purity test. But to your point, if you compare these candidates on that issue and you say it's your issue and somehow you magically come down that only Jasmine Crockett is disqualified, then we have to talk about your other biases and incentives there, because it's so blatant. They have the same position.
And not only that, and again, this is what happens when you pull history. In 2014, the U.S. Senate primary, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there were 6 people that ran. In 2018, when Beto O'Rourke ran against Cruz, there were 3 people who was running. So I don't get these people who somehow think, oh no, let's just have one person coast to victory. Actually, and not only that, Kaibon, you also, one of the reasons why you need a primary, which I've always said, no job is guaranteed. You also need a primary because you need both of these individuals to travel the state. You need both of these individuals putting together a statewide infrastructure. Facts are facts. State Rep James Tallarico has never run statewide.
Yeah, he doesn't have the infrastructure.
Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett has never run statewide. And so the other thing is you need them learning how to run statewide in the primary, because the primary is March, is in the first Tuesday in March. You're going to need whoever wins to have a state infrastructure April, May, June, July, August, September, October for November. So I'm like, what the hell are y'all talking about? Literally, shut the hell up.
By the way, I don't understand the people that think James Tallarico would have this locked down. exciting. He's viral. Yes, like have a bunch of people seen him go viral in 30 to 60-second clips, sort of doing Bible jujitsu on Republicans and saying, oh, you say this about the Bible, here's what it really means. And like, do I like to see that every once in a while? Sure. Is that going to carry him through a general election and a Senate race? Is he good in a debate? Can he actually throw a punch? I haven't seen any of that. So I'm not saying he's a bad candidate, but a primary will at least test both of them. And the reality is, Jasmine Crockett has a lot of the skills that we've seen are effective. And by the way, she may be running against a major criminal, right? Ken Paxton. So she would be well positioned to prosecute that case uniquely. We haven't seen that skill set from James.
Yeah, to me, it's laughable and it's crazy, and there's no such thing as, oh my God, she's gonna guarantee we lose when you haven't won.
And I think the other thing too is like, I think there's a certain segment of the left that thinks that we're not going to talk about race and we're not going to talk about gender and we're not going to talk about these things because that was their takeaway from 2024, that we focused on that too much. First of all, we just had an election cycle that I think proves that's not the case. We've already made gains back with the young voters, Latino voters. Seems to be very laser focused on short-term economic ups and downs, which has always been the case in politics. So I think that's way overhyped. But when you are blatantly racist against a candidate like Jasmine Crockett, by the way, right, talking about her, why are we reading articles in national media about her acrylic nails and her fake eyelashes, and they're so angry that she was the background on her phone? I mean, get a grip. Obviously, that's worthy of pushing back on hard. And I have to say, I really admire and appreciate your show, because if you look at the new media ecosystem that Democrats have built, it is so non-diverse, and they are losing the perspective on so much of the party and the base of the party on these issues.
Well, it was interesting. Just today, I saw this graphic that somebody posted that was very interesting about all of these Democratic candidates who want to run for president and the podcast that they were appearing on. And I saw it and I was like, that's interesting. We're not mentioned. And at least 5 of these people have been on this show in 2025. So I DM'd and tagged the person who put the list together and said, you listened to 431 podcasts. How many of those were black? I'm still waiting. Yeah. I'm still awaiting an answer.
I'm just saying, you go to the Midas Touch Instagram page, right? That's the main outlet for Democrats right now. How far do you have to scroll to find a black face that's not Barack Obama? And again, that doesn't mean that we need to cancel those folks or that we can't watch those folks, but it does speak to a lack of strategy, right? It's not about DEI. It's not about woke. It's about wanting to win. And when you don't have communicators that represent diverse communities, you are setting yourself up to failure. And we've seen that with Latino voters.
And if you do not turn out black people in Texas, you're guaranteed to lose. You kind of need them. Kai Vaughn, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Go to my panel. To me, this ain't that hard, Randy. It ain't that hard. And again, I believe in competition. Do I believe that when Crockett jumped in, Tallarico should have jumped out? No. Now, I personally believe, because I said this actually in July, I personally believe that Representative Tallarico should have run for governor. That's just me. But again, Representative Hinojosa is running. Okay, got it. So I don't get these people, but the level of attacks on Congresswoman Crockett were very clear, and to me was absolutely outlandish and crazy.
The day after she announced her bid, I woke up to such an onslaught of attacks towards Crockett from places that I did not expect, to be honest with you. And it was very disheartening. You know, you would hope that instead of saying nope the minute a black woman decides to stand up and be a leader, there would be some hope and they would see that we can be leaders. It seems as if they're so dependent on black women, but when it comes to supporting us, when we are trying to lead us, there immediately is this aversion. You know, people became so offended when former First Lady Michelle Obama said that we are not ready for a black president, a black female president. But we're seeing the way in what happened with Kamala, and we're seeing the way, Harris, and we're seeing the way that Jasmine Crockett is being treated. I mean, she really spoke some truth. And I think that people don't like the ugly truth, because I think Jasmine Crockett is a fantastic candidate when you look at the demographics of Texas, that she can win it. But she certainly can't if the people within her own party are immediately just, saying that she doesn't have a chance and discounting her. It is quite, again, the word I would say is disheartening, that they do not support us. And yet she has given so much hope to us lately. She's been the one out there fighting when people wanted and needed someone to fight. And I think people want someone who will fight for us, and that shows a level of strength, and she has that. We want the fire. We want the fight. We want someone who's courageous, and she has that.
But, Joe, it's real simple. No job is guaranteed. And let's be clear. If you want to support Tallarico, great, statewide. But tearing her down, is that the way you actually do it? Because if she wins, you're going to have her running against Republican, and you want to stand behind her.
Right, absolutely. And, I like Tallarico a lot. I've seen him on this show. And, he's got his head together in a good way, and he does some things that a lot of people out there don't do. I think him and Jasmine Crockett, end up making each other better candidates, actually, even though there's an idea maybe he should have run for governor. But that being said, I think they end up making each other better candidates. And in any event, people shouldn't be coming out of a bag because of sisters running, okay? And here's the deal. Like, it ain't like, again, the Democrats can say, we haven't won one since what? In Texas since what? Ann Richards or whoever it was. It's not like they can say, well, let's get the white guys back because the white guys are the ones that are winning. No.
Right.
Nobody's winning. So they got to do something different any way you look at it. And why not have somebody up in there that's fighting and that's doing what needs to be done and that can connect to people? So, and then let the people decide. But there is some fear that the Republicans have. The Democrats fear that they fear that she'll lose, but maybe they also fear what the Republicans feel. There's some white Democrats out there that don't want the sister to win, maybe. And so let the people decide. Let all the people decide. And the great thing about Jasmine Crockett is that I think she can bring more people to the table to vote. Folks that are going to be excited about voting, that are going to want to vote, and that they see an actual fighter. Because right now, the reason why Jasmine Crockett has the lane that she does, she did what she did anyway. The reason why she's getting so much national attention is because she's a fighter. It's because she is in Donald Trump's cranium. Donald Trump probably talking about her behind closed doors right now, like she has a tail. She is in his brain, big time. And so, you know what? That's a pretty good start. So let her roll, let her ride. Let's support who we want to support. And, Democrats don't seem to know how to win in Texas anyway. So, hell, let's try something else.
This is what I always say when you have stuck on stupid Democrats, Mustafa.
Well, Black brilliance, Black excellence is always threatening, right? So I'm not going to take anything away from the other candidate who will be a part of the primary or others who might get in. But all we have to do, once again, is look at history and remember all the challenges that Shirley Chisholm went through, right? Whether when she was running for the House or when she was running for the presidency, folks had all these reasons why she shouldn't do it, why she wasn't qualified, why she would probably end up losing. So all you have to do is then also take a look here in this moment. You see a number of the very same things from people inside of the same parties who are saying the same things about Jasmine Crockett, even though she has proven to be a 21st century candidate, right? Because she's been able to be elected. She's been able to mobilize individuals. She's been able to bring a set of energy that many other candidates would love to be able to have. So, we'll have a fair process, which we always talk about. But at the same time, let's understand those additional hurdles that folks continue to put in front of Black women when they run for office.
Well, I'm just sitting here just laughing again, when I look at all of these candidates and the people who ran, and I just see name and name and name and name, and I'm just like, if y'all even just check the facts, there were multiple candidates. In fact, the only race that I found, the only year I found so far where there were fewer than 4 candidates was 2018, when there were 3. So having 2 this year, that's actually the smallest number they've actually had running a primary in 20 plus years. But that's called facts. All right.
This is your chance to own a piece of the creator economy. And with Start Engine, investing in Fanbase couldn't be easier. Just visit startengine.com/fanbase and click Get Equity. Opportunities like this don't stay open long, but your investment can help build a platform that pushes the future of social media forward.
But the last time that I checked, Republicans continue to offer us concepts of a plan instead of actual plans because they would rather campaign on the chaos instead of fixing it.
Representative Jasmine Crockett dismantles Donald Trump's immigration narrative piece by piece and says the quiet part out loud. She calls out Trump's agenda as openly racist, unconstitutional, and rooted in cruelty, not public safety. Crockett exposes how immigrants are being scapegoated while the real problems remain untouched: unaffordable housing, rising grocery prices, stagnant wages, outsourced jobs, and a healthcare system that Republicans refuse to fix. She points to the largest and most inhumane deportation program in modern American history and asks the obvious question: if immigrants are the problem, why is everything still broken?
President Trump has made it clear that he only opposes lawful immigration when non-white people immigrate to the United States. His immigration agenda isn't about public safety or economic stability or jobs. It's about racism. It was racist during his first administration. It's racist now. And like his first administration, he's hired a bunch of racists to carry it out. In fact, I'm gonna pause here really quickly. I know we're talking about TPS, but I don't know if anyone else has mentioned the fact that ICE agents were literally dragging a pregnant woman just this week in a viral video. So don't tell me that this isn't about cruelty, because it is. Moving on. The president is now on record admitting to calling majority Black and brown nations, quote, shithole countries. He consistently refers to Black and brown people as, quote, low IQ, stupid, or nasty. His agenda is about one thing: giving racial preference to specific people seeking to immigrate to America, which is illegal and unconstitutional. But nevertheless, they are going to keep trying to get y'all to believe that immigrants are the cause of all your problems. But here's the truth. Immigrants are not responsible for a billionaire CEO refusing to increase your wage. The corporation you work for isn't replacing your job with artificial intelligence because of Haitian refugees. Your landlord isn't increasing your rent because someone who's fleeing gang violence in Central America moved into your community. A Palestinian kid who was afforded a scholarship to study at an American university isn't responsible for your child's tuition increasing. Latino farm workers aren't responsible for prices of your groceries increasing. Let's be clear, blaming migrants and deporting migrants and ending TPS won't improve the lives of most Americans. As you can see, we're in the middle of the largest, most inhumane deportation program in American history. And guess what? Housing is still unaffordable. Healthcare is still too expensive. Groceries are still too expensive. Wages aren't keeping up with inflation. Jobs are still being outsourced. So maybe it's not the immigrants. Maybe it's the failed Republican policies. In my state of Texas, the Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the governor's mansion. In the United States, the Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the White House. Maybe it's the fact that Republicans would rather give permanent tax cuts to billionaires, but won't even give middle-class Americans temporary health care benefits. Maybe it's the fact that President Trump has the wealthiest cabinet in American history, and these people are out of touch with the American public. Now, Mr. Williams, will ending TPS help or hurt the finishing trades industry your union members work in?
It will hurt the construction industry as a whole.
Let me tell you this, or let me ask you this, this ain't in here. Has it already hurt the construction industry?
It has. Because of the fear and uncertainty.
There's a lot of fear. There are workers that are not showing up to their jobs, regardless of their status, because of how immigration is being carried out under this administration. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Will ending TPS help or hurt job site safety?
It will hurt job site safety.
Will ending TPS help or hurt affordability in our communities?
It will hurt affordability in our community.
Exactly. As people are complaining about the fact that housing is up, you've got to think about what those input costs look like. Those input costs, besides the fact that he's been reckless and ridiculous and not been reined in as it relates to the tariffs, and we know that we get a lot of lumber out of Canada. We want to fight with Canada. We want to fight with Mexico. And then we want to tell people that have come here and are going through the process, and I'm not going to say that any process is perfect, but the last time that I checked, Republicans continue to offer us concepts of a plan instead of actual plans because they would rather campaign on the chaos instead of fixing it. Listen, none of us sitting here, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, wants to be unsafe in our country. I want to be clear. I don't want a criminal in my neighborhood either. But going after all of these countries, when we talk about, it looks like they want to end TPS for Burma and El Salvador and Ethiopia and Haiti and Lebanon and Somalia and South Sudan and Syria. They actually do have Ukraine got extended a little bit and Yemen got extended a little bit. But the vast majority of these countries, there's one thing in common. A lot of those people from those countries have a little bit of melanin in their skin. With that, I will yield.
Well, Dr. Ali, I want to ask you, is Crockett onto something? Are these policies racist and unconstitutional?
Well, I'll say it like my auntie would say is, Congresswoman Crockett just told it like a TI is, because everything that she laid out is the truth. I mean, all you have to do is look at the sets of actions that are there and whom they are focusing upon. So let's be very clear. If America was serious about immigration reform, it has had the opportunity to create 21st century immigration policy that's full of justice and equality and fairness. And we know that the current president actually blocked folks from actually moving forward on a very conservative immigration bill because they were not interested in actually putting anything in place that could help us to address the issue that is at hand. So, if you vote for evil, you are going to get evil policy. You are going to get evil actions. And ultimately, you are going to begin to just completely break down every sensibility that exists inside of a country. So, yes, we can talk about it in the nuts and bolts of policy and law, but we also have to bring spirituality into this conversation because these sets of actions are inhuman. And that's just the reality of what we're seeing play out.
Dr. Walker, what's your response?
Yeah, I think one of the things to keep in mind is as we, move to 2026, that these policies, a lot of these individuals are have jobs. And we just, obviously highlighted here this construction in particular, but they work in all kinds of industries. And if those individuals are showing up for work, their kids aren't showing up for school, it negatively impacts the United States and the U.S. economy. We talked about, Mr. Brown talked about we're not getting the correct statistics that we really should be. And I agree. And I think as we continue to debate this issue over, immigration, and there are millions of Americans that voted for this. And we need to have a question about morality. Because for those who supported these policies and the things we've highlighted just on the show tonight or on a number of other shows on during this hour when we talk to Roland and other guests, is that we see a trend that will continue to 2026. And quite frankly, some of the plans that the administration has or will continue to implement are diabolical. And they're the kind of things that, the UN historically would say these are human rights violations in terms of how we're incarcerating people and how we're terrifying. People are terrified living in their own communities and refuse to show up to work or school. And so it's a moral quandary for this country that we're going to have to figure out now. Because of a purported democracy in which we're supposed to be, we're losing it quickly.
Mr. Brown.
Well, as usual, Congresswoman Crockett lays it out so everyone can understand, and she's exactly right. As we talk about, as the good doctor just mentioned, elections have consequences, and for folks that got bamboozled by this con man, they have another chance, another bite at the apple in less than a year, and can basically say, you know what, I know they'll never acknowledge, and a lot of us have friends that voted for 47 and tried to make up excuses of why. And now, of course, they all regret it, but they don't want to say it because they don't want, obviously, any of us to say, we told you so. But nonetheless, they have another chance for more humane or at least legitimate debate in the halls of Congress about what is the best path for immigration. Clearly, this is not it. Because when white supremacy is at the center of what your policies are all about, it's not going to change. They don't care about what a court says. They don't care about, frankly, what we say on this show or other pundits say on other shows. They want to make sure that they make this country as less brown and black as possible. And that's really the goal. And a lot of people could care less about policy as long as that is the agenda. So they have another bite at the apple, hopefully in less than a year. Hakeem Jeffries will have the gavel, and it won't stop these terrible and mean, inhumane policies, but it certainly can put some hurdles and some speed bumps in that path. And frankly, if we get even luckier and the Senate, which is now in play, very difficult, but if even the Senate flips, I mean, then obviously then the agenda does stop. So let's just see what happens, and hopefully people pull the lever the right way this time.
It's another reminder about just how important it is to vote.
Violent white supremacy is, quote, the most persistent and lethal threat in the homeland.
The greatest terrorist threat to the homeland is the homegrown violence stream, including hate crime committed on behalf of some kind of white supremacist ideology.
They are coming after everything in Black America. MAGA and Donald Trump are specifically targeting Black America.
They are going after the money. Attack Black Lives Matter. Attack critical race theory. Attack woke, DEI.
MAGA wants to defund Black America. This is a perfect example of their desire to completely degrade and de-emphasize Black people.